I've been closely associated with Notre Dame football for the last half dozen years. Had a great many thrills and exciting moments. And now, to those of you gathered this evening at the Athletic and Convocation Center at Notre Dame to commemorate Ara Parseghian's 10th anniversary, we'd like to share some of those great memories with you. In the following film, you'll see and hear Ara Parseghian reminisce about his 10 years as head coach at Notre Dame. When we asked Ara to recount some of his memories of past Notre Dame teams, he was unaware of the fact that the interview was to be included in the film that you're about to see. Sorry about that, Ara.
Hello, everybody. Lindsey Nelson at Madison, Wisconsin. And here come the Fighting Irish, ready for their first game under new head coach Ara Parseghian.
When we came in 1964, unfortunately, Notre Dame had not enjoyed a winning season. It's hard to even look back and reflect on it now. I had not enjoyed a winning season in the 5 previous years. And when you talk about a winning season, we think in terms of a 6-4 year. So that when I arrived on campus, my objective was to try to turn it around if I possibly could. Well, what I found here was some pretty good talent, number one, and number two, some pretty enthusiastic and, as I term it, hungry youngsters. They wanted to win, and I was obviously concerned because a victory would make all the hard work during the spring and all the hard work in the preseason well worth it.
Wide open, exciting football is what the Irish are showing against Wisconsin today in Ara Parseghian's debut. He's got a new quarterback named John Hewitt, teaming with senior wide receiver Jack Snow. It's a combination that's got Wisconsin baffled. Points for the Irish, and the era of Ara is underway.
The final outcome of winning it set the pace and got us started right and brought a renewed interest, I think, on the players' part, the campus's part, that we could win at the University of Notre Dame again. It seems as if the good has to be offset by some disappointment, and I remember vividly the last minute and 17 seconds of that same year where we lost the national championship and an undefeated season, and what would have been one of the most remarkable comebacks by any football team with a completion by Craig Fertig to Rod Sherman for a touchdown that beat us out in the Coliseum. It was a disappointing loss because there was so much at stake. They had worked so hard. But still, I look back on that season and find that it was an exciting year and one that I'll long remember in my coaching career.
The Irish finished 1964 with a 9-1 record. The National Football Hall of Fame recognized a great accomplishment and awarded the Irish the MacArthur Bowl. What a beginning for Ara Parseghian at Notre Dame. October 23rd, 1965. Notre Dame's major goal today is to avenge last season's heartbreaking upset by Southern Cal. Here's All-America Mike Garrett's first carry. He's smothered by Irish tacklers, setting the tempo for the entire game. Coach Parseghian throws an awesome ground game at Southern Cal. Again and again, fullback Larry Conjar blasts the big Trojan defense. And finishes today with 4 touchdowns. With the fans shouting, "Remember last year," Notre Dame has its revenge, 28-7. The Irish finished 1965 with a 7-2-1 record. It was a year that laid the groundwork for Ara's mighty 1966 team.
Well, the 66 team was probably one of the best talented teams that we had. We had great balance and great leadership. And that's the way I look back upon it now. It was a young ball club in a lot of respects, and the coming forth of the Terry Hanratty's and the Jim Seymours and guys like Jim Lynch, who was our captain, who was just an outstanding individual, truly a great player and a great person and a great leader. And I think teams that are successful have to have those ingredients. You have to have talent, and you have to have field leadership and generalship. And that team was characterized by that.
One of the great college football teams ever. There was offensive guard Tom Regner clearing the path for the lightning-quick jaunts of Nick Eddy. There was Pete Duranko anchoring a defense of men like Alan Page, Kevin Hardy, Mike McGill, and Jim Lynch. And there was the spectacular Mr. Fling to Mr. Kling, Terry Hanratty and Jim Seymour, exploding on the national college scene in their first game against Purdue. The Irish win their first 8 games. And then, the battle of the century, undefeated Michigan State and undefeated Notre Dame to decide the national title.
I've never been in a ball game that had more build-up than that particular game. It was an unbelievable experience to go through. We had press conferences every day. The press wanted, and the fans wanted a conclusion to the game. Well, you know, I didn't go into the ball game with the idea of being a tie, and neither did Duffy Daugherty. That's the way the game ended.
Michigan State scored first with a touchdown, and then a field goal. Behind 10-0, with 3 regulars, Terry Hanratty, Nick Eddy, and George Gedeke, sidelined with injuries, the Irish battled back. A touchdown from Coley O'Brien to Bob Gladjo. And a 28-yard field goal by Joe Azzaro tied the game, setting up a nerve-tingling finish.
At issue was the decisions that we made at the tail end of the ball game. Many people don't realize that we got the ball in about the last minute and a half of the ball game at our own 31-yard line, and we were going into the wind, and Michigan State had an outstanding kicker when a field goal could have beaten us. And we elected to run draw plays, figuring that they would be blitzing our passer. And on 4th down and 1, many people have forgotten totally that we gambled on 4th down and 1 at our own 39 or 40-yard line to go for a first down, which we made. And the next play, we rolled Coley O'Brien out to his left, and Bubba Smith, I remember, stepping over our center, who was the backup behind the number 1 guy, came through and knocked down Coley O'Brien for about a 7 or 8 yard loss. Now we were faced with a situation with just a few seconds left to go in the ball game, and we elected in the last 7 or 8 seconds of the ball game to go ahead and run a sneak and finish the game, because we didn't want to take a chance at that point of throwing an interception that might lead to a field goal, that might lead to a touchdown, and get beat after the great comeback that we had had with the disadvantages as far as injuries are concerned. We were severely criticized for that particular game by members of the media and the press. But in my own mind as a football coach, I think it's one of the great comebacks and one of the great games in Notre Dame's history.
That now famous game doesn't stall Ara's charge to a national title in 1966. The Irish storm back and hand Southern Cal the most lopsided defeat in this fabled series. The day belongs to little Coley O'Brien, filling in for the injured Hanratty. He hits on 21 of 31 passes and 3 touchdowns. The result, 51-0 and the national championship. It is Ara's 100th career victory. Under Parseghian, Notre Dame is once again thrust into the national spotlight. In just 3 short years, the Irish have won 25 of 28 games and a national championship. In 1967, the Irish lose 2 early season games to Purdue and Southern Cal, but rebound with 6 straight victories. One is the rematch with Michigan State, and a hero is sophomore Jeff Zimmerman. Along the way, Notre Dame wins its 500th football game and joins an elite group of college teams. A year later, the final game of 1968 marks the unveiling of a new Notre Dame quarterback. Joe Theismann throws his first pass against Southern Cal, and it's turned into 6 points for the Trojans. But this gutty little passer picks himself up and shows signs of future greatness. This trick play with halfback Coley O'Brien ties the previously unbeaten Trojans. Number 7 is about to lead Notre Dame into a new adventure. In 1969, Notre Dame announces an historic decision. The Fighting Irish will appear in a bowl game for the first time in 45 years. Their assignment, the number 1 ranked Texas Longhorns in the Cotton Bowl.
The first experience in a bowl game was something new for all of us, a totally new experience for everyone concerned with the university. I was pleased to see it, and as time has moved forward now, I think it was a great move. I think the principles that were established at that time, which was the selection of competition first and sight second, is something that we have followed through in our other bowl engagements since our first venture against Texas in the Cotton Bowl.
How did the Irish get a bowl bid? Well, Joe Theismann surfaced as one of America's best quarterbacks. He could scramble and he could pass, and Notre Dame averaged nearly 40 points in their 8 victories. The defense was a mixture of youth and veterans, and 277-pound Mike McCoy was the giant of the forward wall. After an early season loss to Purdue, only a 14-14 tie with Southern Cal marred Notre Dame's record. And that deadlock came about only by inches. The Irish missing an upset when the football did a strange thing. It hit the crossbar, and Notre Dame's chance for victory bounced away. But the Irish get another chance for national prestige as they swing into Dallas for the Cotton Bowl match with top-ranked Texas.
Notre Dame in its first bowl appearance in 45 years against the number 1 ranked Texas Longhorns. Joe Theismann rolling to his right. Looks downfield. Receivers are covered. Now he starts to scramble as he's done all season long. Theismann, trapped, now rolls to his left. Gets a beautiful block. Looks downfield and throws to the end zone. It's complete to Jim Yoder. Touchdown Notre Dame, and they take the lead. Still time for the Longhorns in the final moments, trailing 17-14. Texas with its number 1 ranking on the line. Street the quarterback. 4th down, throws. Cotton Spire complete on the 2 for the first down. From the 2, Billy Dale off the left side. Touchdown, and Texas goes ahead 21-17. But can they hold off the Fighting Irish?
Like all great Notre Dame teams, the Irish won't quit. It takes a last-second interception to kill off the challenge by the visitors from South Bend. Despite the narrow setback, the Irish move up in the polls and finish 1969 in the top 5. In 1970, names like Greg Marks, Clarence Ellis, Mike Kadish, and Walt Patulski captured the imagination of Irish fans. They played Notre Dame defense, and they played it to perfection. Both the defense and the offense finished the season among the top 5 in the country. And Joe Theismann and Tom Gatewood were on their way to becoming Notre Dame's all-time top passing combination. Ara's 1970 team appeared headed for a perfect season, until the final battle at Southern Cal. It was a day Joe Theismann put his name in the Notre Dame record book. As the sun turned to a steady downpour and mud, Theismann hit on 33 passes, accounting for an amazing 526 yards. But with the driving rain came a strange turn of events. In the space of 37 seconds, the Trojans scored 2 touchdowns by recovering fumbles in the end zone. Joe Theismann's great performance and an unbeaten season dissolved in the Coliseum mud. It was a bitter disappointment for Ara Parseghian, but in 7 seasons, the Irish head coach had compiled a record of 57 victories, a national title, and a top 10 ranking each year. And now, a great triumph lay just ahead. The Irish again elect to go against #1 ranked Texas in the Cotton Bowl to challenge the country's longest current winning streak of 30 games. Theismann leads the assault on the Texas defense. After the heartbreaking loss to Southern Cal, the Irish have again come back stronger than ever. To further stymie the Longhorns, Parseghian throws his now famous mirror defense against the vaunted Texas Wishbone. To everyone's surprise, the Irish upset the mighty Longhorns 24-11 and are voted #2 in the country.
And the one thing that I remember about that contest is the post-game reactions by our ball club. Enthusiasm plays a very important part in the success of a ball club. It was an undescribable experience. There was just a total eruption of emotion in the locker room. And I remember so vividly and being in the center of this massive number of football players, some with pads, some without pads, and it seemed to be a natural response as we were moving in a circle, counterclockwise as I remember it. And it's a low-ceilinged type of thing, and you get captured with this thing, and it's very difficult to describe. I only wish that someone would have had the presence of mind to have had a camera in there to record that, to have the sports fans of America to see that the youngsters today are enthusiastic. They aren't so sophisticated that they can't enjoy success nor get up for a particular football game. Spirit and tradition are rather difficult things to define, but it's something that you feel as you're in this environment, and the national aspect of the university, the great subway alumni interest, is a very vivid thing. And on the campus itself, originally this was a male student body. We now have co-ed, but it certainly hasn't diminished the enthusiasm one iota. But we're a smaller school with only about 6,800 undergraduate students. I think the youngsters get to know one another. We're athletically oriented. This is a great academic institution. And it just seems to be a bond that it's difficult to describe, but certainly felt by the head football coach of this institution for the past 10 years.
Even during a rebuilding year, Irish enthusiasm exploded into 1971. A powerful defense sparked the blue and gold to an 8-2 season, including an 8-7 squeaker over Purdue. This clutch two-point conversion was the difference. At year's end, Notre Dame decided against a trip to a bowl game. 1972 began on a note of optimism, but injuries plagued Notre Dame at mid-season. It was a period of adjustment, and new faces and young stars began to develop. The season ended on the lowest note of Ara Parseghian's career at Notre Dame, but out of these depths came the seeds of greatness.
I would go back to the last two ball games of 1972. We came off of two very disappointing losses, uncharacteristic of the overall defensive statistics and records that we'd accomplished in the previous years, and that was a disappointment to us. We lost to Southern California. They were the national champions in 1972, undefeated all the way through as we are in 1973, and then we lost to the team that had been picked to be the national champion in the Orange Bowl, and by probably one of the poorest performances that we have ever put on as a football team. So we didn't feel that we played up to the standards that we're capable of. And I think from those two disappointments came a renewed vigor, came a renewed determination to turn around and make amends for those two disappointing losses at the end of the year.
The 1973 team was a major question mark at the beginning of the season. It was a young team, and nobody picked it to be a contender for national honors. The Irish surprised many by opening the season with 5 straight victories. But the big test was yet to come against powerful Southern Cal, and would prove to be one of the most crucial games in recent years for Ara Parseghian. On defense and offense, Notre Dame punished their intersectional rivals, again breaking the country's current longest win streak, 23 games, and proving to all that they were a solid football team. The Irish had overcome a major hurdle on the road to a perfect season, but had not yet reached the top of the polls.
There was still a lot of talk at the end of the year, as we did go undefeated, that we were a slow football team and not very quick and would not be able to match the speed of Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. I knew that this was probably one of the quickest teams we've had and matched very closely our 1966 team. Probably in overall balance, it was even better than our 66 team because we had a super kicking game along with an excellent offense and a fine defense.
One big game remained.
We had never competed against one another. Alabama had never played Notre Dame. I had never competed against Coach Bryant. To finally bring together the Notre Dame team against the Alabama team and to go against Coach Bryant was a great challenge. By his own proclamation, this was the best team that he had had, and he's had some great football teams, and he declared that this would be the biggest game in the history of the South. Well, in my own opinion, and those shared my own environment, this was going to be one of the biggest games in the North, at least for a Northern team playing in the South.
It's the Sugar Bowl, the battle for number 1. Bama leads 7-6 in the kickoff. Comes down to the 6-yard line. Freshman Al Hunter from Greenville, North Carolina has it. He's at the 20, the 25, the 30. He's got daylight. Moving to his right. He's clear at midfield. He's going to go all the way. Freshman Al Hunter will go 94 yards. A Sugar Bowl record. And the Irish on top 12-7. Now, will they go for the 2-point conversion? Clement sets the team. They're going to go for it. Fakes the handoff. Rolls left, looks, throws into the corner of the end zone, complete to Pete Demerly, and Notre Dame leads 14-7. Alabama adds a touchdown and a field goal and leads 17-7, and now Clement to Eric Pennick. Pennick with a great block from Dave Casper and into the end zone. Notre Dame leading 21-17. From the Irish 25-yard line. Quarterback Todd swings out to Mike Stock. Stock's going to throw the ball. He does. Back to Todd, who's all alone. A 25-yard touchdown play. And Alabama goes ahead, 23-21. Can the Irish come back? This is it. The national championship on the line. Clements sets the team, calls the signal. Clements fakes, rolls, looks, and throws. It is complete to Dave Casper in front of 2 Alabama defenders. And now the game is on the line. Thomas from the 18. Kick is up. Kick is good. And the Irish lead 24-23.
And then a crucial decision.
We had third down and about 8 yards to go. We're backed up into our own territory on about the 2 or 3 yard line. And I knew that if we could get the first down and maintain possession of the ball, it could be a win. I also knew that they would be giving us a 11-man defensive front, in a sense, to stop the run, to force the punt. We would have to punt into the wind, and even if my kicker got off a 40-yard punt, they would be in 4-down area and also downwind for a field goal that would beat us. The play came off, and it did lead to the national championship and a victory in that ball game. We were backed up on our own 2-3 yard line. It was a big play and a big call, but the risk factor, as opposed to the reward, was one that was well worth doing.
Notre Dame had completed its first unbeaten and untied season in 25 years, winning the national championship and the MacArthur Bowl.
As time moves forward and somebody else takes the responsibility of becoming the head football coach at Notre Dame, this game will be one that will be long remembered. 20, 30 years from now, they'll talk about the Sugar Bowl game, where Notre Dame, in its first competition against Alabama, won the ball game in the South, and coming from behind to do it by 1 point.
Ara Parseghian is the first non-Notre Dame graduate to coach the Fighting Irish in recent years. His teams have featured imaginative offenses, well-executed defenses, and because of his outstanding leadership and character and integrity, he was an ideal choice to carry on in the true Notre Dame spirit. Here is the man who has coached America's best-known college football team the past 10 years. A man who not only has contributed to the gridiron legends and traditions of the past, but a man who has added his own unique brand of greatness to the proud history of Notre Dame football. From 1964 to 1973, 85 victories, ranked in the top 10, 8 of 10 years, broke 2 of the nation's top winning streaks, 2 national championships, 3 MacArthur Bowls. All of this in the first 10 years of the era of Ara.